Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about a very large and fierce winter storm that will be brewing and making its way across the United States into the coming early part of next week. And I do want to specify that there will be actually two systems. There will be one before that, so that one is pretty much already under the way, or under unfolding, if you will, across the United States. This one is smaller though, but it will be bringing some large impacts nonetheless. Originally, I was thinking about splitting the video, talking half about the first one, half about the second one. But yeah, the second one looks a lot more dangerous and has a lot more impacts, and a lot more heavy snow with it than the first one. For the majority, some will receive more snow from the first one than the second one. Okay, let's start talking about this. As you can see, that is the moisture plume from this system. So you can see that one concern immediately, if you know about anything about severe weather, is that, well, when there's that much available moisture, severe weather usually thrives in that environment. Obviously, there are many other things that go into play here, but the Storm Prediction Center already issues a slight risk 5 days out, so that is again, a pretty good sign that they're confident in some risk of severe weather occurring from this system. So again, that's not snow, that's the moisture plume, but it's a pretty darn good representation of what the system will look like. So and yeah, because it's so, again, not far towards the north, relatively far enough for it to be a snowstorm, but it's enough to also soak up a ton of moisture. Let's start talking let's start talking about this and begin with the Northwestern United States. So the Northwest, yeah, let's start talking about it. I do want to say, obviously, skip to your region. When so you already know the drill. If you're new, I split the area into regions, so you don't have to watch the whole video. Click on your area in the description box below, and a blue little numbers, and it'll take you there automatically. Okay, so the Northwest, you're not gonna really see any impacts from the first one. You can see that one is right here, very far towards the south and west. So if from your perspective, it's mainly going to be this second guy that is currently making its way across, well, still far off the shore of the U.S. and Canada, but it's gonna make its way into, you can see Washington, Oregon, British Columbia, Alberta, Montana, and there will be mainly snow from this, as it's pretty chilly, so there won't be much rain. And you can see it's not a monster system, but you can see it makes its way gradually there towards the south, and that will be the that will play into the potential of that storm there, but across the eastern United States. But for you guys, again, not really too much going on, not that much activity, and you can see that there's going to be continued small little disturbances of snow across maybe Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, but other than that, it's going to be limited for you. Mainly cold air, I would say, though towards the longer range, maybe towards the end of next week, things could start warming up, especially towards maybe the coastal areas. But you can see that there's definitely going to be some cold air towards the north that's readily available. So again, not as an extreme of a pattern as you guys have been dealing with, right? So total snowfall pretty miserable compared to what you guys have been seeing. This takes us only through January 26th, but if you go even further out, you can see that the amounts don't really drastically increase. Maybe towards February, a more active pattern towards the west again, but again, that's at the earliest on February, first, second. So nothing really too incredible, though chilly and calm. So that's not bad, especially given what you guys have been through. Southwestern United States. Let's move on to your area, and start talking about this. The first one, unlike the Northwest, is impacting your guys' area, and you can see it's mainly developing a little bit of snow across southern Utah, basically the Four Corners area, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and this thing will quickly, if you will, move out of here, skedaddle through, you can see the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, where this system here will actually produce a lot of snow for you guys, more arguably than that second one. And there could be up to a foot of snow here across southeastern Colorado. It may not look this impressive on a radar here or on the simulated MSLP and precipitation. The simulated radar on this website is right here, but the snowfall rates will be extremely heavy, and the system will be relatively slow enough moving where it will drop quite a bit of snow. The National Weather Service does have actually issued a foot of snow for this. Let me show you their forecast here. National Weather Service, United States, snowfall, and you can see that right there, boom, 8 of those pink colorations, that is towards a foot of snow. So definitely impressive, though. Notice that stretches into Kansas as well. Not too significant further back into the western United States. And let me play this out. So again, that thing's gone by really even tomorrow morning. But again, the snowfall amounts from that will be surprisingly heavy, especially across the areas in Colorado. Maybe Denver picking up a little bit from it, not too incredible amounts. And then you can see the four corners. But again, a lot of that has already, if you will, fallen. Notice in the future, we see another disturbance moving through, very similar, however, a little bit further north. So this time maybe Denver gets down some more, northern areas, Colorado, southern Wyoming, Utah. This would be immediately following that system. So really late Sunday, early Monday. But it too moves through pretty quickly. And you can see it develops quite a bit of heavy snow potentially across, maybe the Texas Panhandle there we're kind of looking at. And but again, it's still a little bit further out, and for the most part of the Southwest, you guys are being missed. Notice California, Nevada, you guys are dry, high and dry, and relatively calm. And the temperatures shouldn't be too cold either. Definitely chillier, though, than I would say normal. But again, quiet through probably maybe February 1st, and then that's when we could start seeing a more active pattern return. But again, that's still far out and really not anything to get too excited about. European model, it's a contrast to kind of the GFS. It's the it's the alternate model we use if the GFS is being, well, no, we usually use it to compare it to the GFS to see which model has more accuracy. And do note that there's that first system, the European shows very similar form as a GFS, and then the GFS, or just like the GFS, the European also shows that second one potentially slowing down across the Texas Panhandle, where there could be quite a bit of snow into New Mexico as well. So with that second one, there could be quite a bit of additional snow. Not much rain. Areas that do end up seeing precip will mainly just be seeing snow. So you can see that's that snowfall footprint from this first one. Again, I would say it's underestimating some of those amounts. And you can see that's a snowfall footprint from the second one. So that's that. Let's move on to the north central United States, as this is where really things get a little bit more, let's just say, chaotic. And I want to dedicate a little bit more attention because the impacts from this will be a lot more significant from both of these systems, but especially the second one. Notice the first one is already going to be moving into areas like Kansas, eastern Kansas, western Kansas. You guys are under a really bad drought, so this precipitation and snowfall, while it may cause disruptions in the short term, it's I guarantee you farmers are rejoiced by this. And you can see across southwestern, southeastern Colorado as well. Those areas haven't really seen that much snowfall at all. If they have seen precipitation, it was rain, as much of the snow has fallen towards the north thus far this season, across the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa. Those areas have seen a lot more than these areas, so that's good. Notice it's really nicely spreads through much of Kansas into Missouri, but it becomes weaker, and you can see that the snowfall amounts obviously into Missouri, Iowa are going to be a lot smaller into Saturday and Sunday. Into Illinois, cities like Des Moines maybe picking up 1 to 2 inches, Kansas City 2 to 3 inches maybe, Chicago 1 to 2, Detroit maybe 1 to 2. There will be some mixing issues there though, so we'll see if that even ends up really accumulating. And yeah, not really too big of an issue. Do notice that through Kentucky there could be some heavier rain, and where that does transition into snow, that could lead to a stripe or two of some slightly higher amounts. Though again, not really anything too concerning for these areas. But as I mentioned, the second one system will be eerily similar in track, just a bit further towards the south. Notice it kind of skips through Kansas there, and I do want to say that you can see areas like Minnesota, Wisconsin, at least for the most part, you guys aren't really seeing much precipitation through this time frame. Maybe a little bit of snow across southern Canada there on late Monday and into Tuesday. Do notice Kansas skips out mainly on the second one, but then Missouri really starts getting in on this as this thing scoops up towards the north. There are some modeling differences between this, just to say the least. So notice Illinois, Indiana picking up quite a bit of snow. Again, don't get too hung up on the exact track of this. If you're looking at Indianapolis right now, you may be thinking, oh, it's going to be a rain-snow mix. It may very well just be all rain. It may very well just be all snow, depending on the exact track of this. Right now, I would say it favors cities like central Illinois, so Peoria, Urbana, Champaign, Chicago, though maybe the southern areas seeing more. Milwaukee are just on the northern cusp of this. Detroit definitely potentially in for a bigger event from this system according to the GFS. And then more activity. I mean, beyond that system, while we're talking about this system in particular for this title, for this video, there's going to be more activity. You can see a cold front passes through, dropping more snow just a few days behind that, and we see very cold air and more active precipitation. So areas that haven't seen much precipitation thus far this season, or snowfall I should say, So anywhere pretty much across Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, yeah, anywhere pretty much south of I-80 that runs through these states haven't really seen much snow. You will begin to see a lot more activity and a lot more snow potentially. You may not see snow with every single storm, but you could see there's some in the long range well into February where the cold keeps, and that's what I was saying, that the cold looks to stay around for a lot longer than most people think. All right, let's start showing you some of these snowfall amounts from the GFS, and let's just stop it at this current system and not get too ahead of ourselves, which again isn't too far out. This would be mainly occurring into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for this area. Do notice where this thing is initially intensifying, there could be up to a foot of snow across southern Missouri. Definitely not out of the question. Maybe, again, up to half a foot, if not more, across Indiana, Chicago, northern Illinois, central Illinois, probably seeing more. Again, on exact track, this will obviously depend. Kansas City, you can see kind of in between these two systems, still picking up on some snowfall. I do want to note that the European has a slightly different idea. So while the GFS was initially a lot more of a northern scenario with this system, it was a lot more towards the north, even bringing rain as far north as Chicago and Milwaukee. It has gone pretty far towards the south now. While the European was a more southern scenario just a few days ago, now it's inched north with every single model run. But so we'll have to see how this exactly pans out, which way this system could move, and where the heaviest snow track will result as a result. So do notice there's that first one. Again, nothing too significant for your area here across the north central United States. Again, other than Kansas and Colorado, where some of those snowfall amounts will obviously be very heavy. Second one right on its heels. Again, there could be a lot of snow into Texas, Oklahoma, but that's a different region. You could see Missouri there, Illinois, Indiana, and now, oddly enough, the European potentially a little slightly more north than the GFS was, which a few days ago was the exact opposite. So we'll have to wait and see. For now, though, you can see this puts Detroit more in still a very heavy snow, but maybe mixing in with some rainfall at the end. So yeah, that is that. And in terms of total snowfall, again, not an incredible snowfall event where there's 2 feet of snow, right? But one that's definitely, especially compared to the winter we've been seeing, this is definitely it's gonna be noticeable, right? I mean, 6 inches is always a lot, and 6, 7, 8 inches is very significant for these areas. So that's definitely something we have to keep an eye on for. All right, let's move on towards the different portion of the United States, and that's the South Central United States. So again, as I was saying, for the folks across the North Central United States, it's basically a story of two models. Well, that may be a little bit too dramatic, because honestly, they're in pretty darn good agreement, the European and GFS. Sometimes they completely disagree, and that's why I'm kind of confident making this video. I'm not going into individual model analysis as much as I would normally, because the models are in darn good agreement with this system. There's obviously a few differences, but it gives a lot forecasters a lot more confidence. Notice Colorado, New Mexico, you guys from this first system will be seeing snow probably heavier than from that second one, north of both panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma. But again, Kansas getting very beneficial snowfall there, so that is amazing for you guys with that drought. And then do note that this thing weakens as it moves off. Some thunderstorms across Louisiana, Mississippi, again, rain further south, so nothing too incredible. Do note there's a lot more cold air that moves in behind this. Not barbaric, though colder to at least compared to what we've been seeing. And then we have that second system, which moves in as early Sunday, late Monday. Late Sunday, early Monday into Colorado. Notice it's a little bit further south, and the GFS actually remarkably similar to the European shows that system hitting the panhandle of Texas, potentially Amarillo, Texas. If I have viewers from there, this system could drop a lot of snow for you. We've seen these type of systems drop up to a foot across those areas. Oklahoma City, I'm not trying to say anything for now, but this could definitely be a big one for you. Missouri, Arkansas, and into Illinois, Indiana, and you can see this thing spreads towards the north with its snowfall amount. So maybe this could, again, depending on exact track, if it shifts further south, hit Arkansas. Further north, it could hit Missouri, more of Missouri, Kansas City. Thunderstorms, they could be pretty darn severe, especially across Louisiana, Mississippi, into the day on late Tuesday, early Wednesday. So that is definitely something that is also concerned. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a slight risk for day 5, which I believe is Tuesday through Wednesday, and you can see that it's affecting a lot of these areas. I would not be surprised, obviously, to see that being expanded, as it's still very far out. So just to show you, for the South Central United States, some of these snowfall amounts are, again, nothing short of impressive for any winter storm or any winter. And given the fact that we haven't seen really much activity here with snow this year, this is definitely going to be something that could be big. Notice Oklahoma City, according to this model, 9-10 inches. You heard it from the model, not me, guys. I'm not trying to overhype anything. St. Louis potentially getting a lot of snow out of this. Again, further south, this could shift maybe into Little Rock, maybe into Memphis, Nashville. It's still up for question at this point. I wouldn't expect this system to move too drastically, as the models have been pretty darn accurate with this, and they've been very, they've been very consistent, both the GFS and European. But obviously, it's the weather models, so they could still become less in agreement tomorrow than they are today. Sometimes that does happen. It's rare, but it does, where they're more in line a day out before, and then a day passes and they're disagreeing again. Do note the European, obviously that first snowfall event will be pretty significant for Kansas, Colorado, but that second one more significant. You can see affecting areas again, just like the GFS showed, Oklahoma, Texas, St. Louis. The European, again, pretty darn similar track, a little bit maybe more further south initially here, and then takes it a little bit more further north. So, there are some differences, but overall, a snowstorm is on its way, and the timing is also, pretty similar into much of the day on Tuesday for Texas, Oklahoma, and then into early Wednesday. But by Wednesday night, this thing's out of here for the South Central United States. So that is that. Obviously, I'll keep you guys updated on this because, well, if you're watching from Oklahoma, apologies about that noise. If you're watching from Oklahoma, this would obviously be a very significant thing you should be worrying about. For now, again, don't get too caught up, but that first system across Kansas and Colorado, that's pretty much imminent. So that is definitely more of a concern. That second one, a little bit further out still, so you've got time. Let's move on into the Northeast. This is an area that is gonna be, you're seeing a lot of activity in the coming days, and we basically just had a system that is still actually hugging the Northeast coast, bringing snow into many areas that haven't really seen much snow this year. So that's that's something cool to look at. Boston hasn't seen much snow. You guys are seeing snow. That's gonna move out by tomorrow, Saturday. Mainly nice, cold, not barbaric though. Average January, I would say. And then into Sunday, you can see we have this system that earlier will be dropping a lot of snow across Kansas. It weakens across the central United States, so it's not a massive storm, right? Which is why I'm not titling it two storms, just one, focusing on the second one. But by the time it reaches the Northeast, it could re-intensify again, producing a lot of snow potentially for, say, northern Pennsylvania. I know I have a lot of folks across northern Pennsylvania that haven't really seen much snow. This one won't be a massive doozy for you, it seems, but it will potentially be the biggest one of the season, which doesn't really say much. State College has seen some decent snow this year. I don't think this one will beat it out, but this one we could see will be more broad across northern Pennsylvania. It does start intensifying. You can see coastal areas, again, mainly rain, right, but it could be pretty significant. It's been pretty wet, so that could be something to look out for. Notice, though, as this thing intensifies into southern Canada, where there's more than enough cold air, there's some snow. Again, on the exact track of this, will still have to be determined, right, but that could obviously determine whether Toronto, Ottawa, you get more or less snow. For now, you can see it's just skimming your guys' area, but that snow gets awfully close to New York City there, Massachusetts, potentially Boston into Maine, and you can see it develops into a strong system. Winds getting very strong, 979 millibars. So not only are you guys dealing with that second powerful one, but this first one too. So the snowfall amounts from this could be pretty significant by themselves. Notice total snowfall, again, not too far inland. It's, again, areas that maybe not had that much snow though so far this year. Seeing a widespread 3, 4, 5, and again towards New England maybe half a foot if not more. European model also in line with that. You can see showing from that first system, boom, right there, a track of snow that is much of Pennsylvania seeing a decent swath of snow, more than you guys have seen this year. New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, and into Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. So that is something. And let's now move on into the second one, because the second system is probably going to be even bigger, at least in terms of people impacted. Notice there's that second system. So again, depending on the exact track, the models are still a little bit in disagreement, but you could see potentially Ohio, northern Ohio getting on some snow before maybe converting to some rain, again depending on the track. Pennsylvania starting off with some snow, eventually converting into rain. So unfortunately not a coastal system, it seems. Earlier some of the models are showing that doesn't seem likely. Do note though, across southern Canada, southeastern Canada, Toronto, all the cities lined up there, Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec, this thing's going to be a doozy for you in terms of the snowfall, potentially one of the bigger ones of the year. Notice Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, Maine, also seeing quite a bit of that snowfall as that warm air doesn't fully get in there. But you can see it leaves in quite a blast of cool air behind it, so that's something to note for. Total additional snowfall accumulation, so obviously this won't be fully from the second one, but for the most part. But you can see the first one also leaves a few inches there. But again, you can see Detroit, Toronto, all the cities here across southern Canada and the northern and northeast seeing quite a bit of snow, and on top of each other, there could be up to a foot of snow on the ground by the time all things is said and done. Where that first snowfall system will also bring some several inches of snow. GFS. Let me show you this. Simulated radar, or not simulated radar, just the precipitation rate, and you can see there's that first system. Again, if it was just a little bit slower, it could have been a much more impactful system, but it kind of speeds out of there quicker. And again, this is still a little bit far out for this northeast, so this first one, I'll keep you guys updated on it because it's still 60-ish hours away, so that could still turn into a, let's just say, a massive event, if it again just shifts even a little bit towards the south. So we'll have to keep an eye on for that. But notice again, the second one, the European, shows very similarly towards it, very similar like the GFS, which is odd. Usually they don't agree this much, but shows a little bit more snow out ahead of it, so maybe not as much rain potentially for the upstate New York, not upstate New York, maybe upstate Pennsylvania area. Eventually, all areas really, even up towards the Canadian border, according to the European, do convert into some rainfall, but it's more brief, and you can see right behind it there's cold air that swoops in. So the snowfall footprint from the European model is actually also quite significant, and you can see, assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, which again probably is relatively accurate, and some of these amounts are going to be relatively good. Kuchera, I would say, would be more applicable for southern Canada. You're seeing 10 inches here. It's probably going to be closer to 15 if that snowstorm does end up occurring the way the models are showing it for now. So again, a pretty good system. And in terms of total accumulated precip, again, as I mentioned, there could be quite a bit of rain for the coastal areas. And I clicked on the wrong thing. This is what I wanted to look at. You can see amounts could definitely reach 2 to 3 inches across the coastal areas, especially the ones that are further out in the ocean, like Cape Cod and Long Island. So that is definitely that. Okay, so that is the Northeast. There's still a lot of differences we'll have to sort out. This is the official National Weather Service forecast for the Northeast from that first system, by the way. Again, pretty close to what the models are showing. But let's move on to the Southeast. So no big event in terms of snow for the South, for the most part. There could be some areas that get some snow. Mainly, it's going to be, again, just like it has been most of the winter, severe weather. For now, no big activity. Mainly Saturday dry, but by late Saturday, early Sunday, there's going to be some storms that move in through much of the southeast here. Thunderstorms, non-severe, though definitely a threat of stronger ones through much of the southeast, you could see. But this is going to move out of here by early Sunday. By early Sunday across potentially Pennsylvania, Louisiana, Arkansas. But notice as this thing develops and intensifies into a larger system, it hangs around across the Carolinas and Georgia and Florida for just a bit longer into the day on Monday. By the time Monday is rolling around, lunchtime hour, this thing's out of here with some Appalachian snow. We see another warming up, a little bit of a warm up as we see another larger system that's more further towards the south. So it could be bringing some snow into, say, Arkansas, Missouri. But again, a very potent severe weather threat for the deep south here, with a slight risk already being issued for Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama. And that is definitely something that we'll have to watch for. I would not be surprised for this to be a bigger event than what we've been seeing so far this year, which kind of says a lot, as there's been already a lot of severe weather. Notice, again, rips through Georgia. Unlike the last system, the cold front does not weaken and holds its way through the Carolinas. Maybe by the time it reaches the Carolinas and eastern Georgia, it weakens, though still something we'll have to watch for. And what's unique behind this is, well, there's going to be more cold air, so the Appalachian Mountains, Tennessee, Kentucky pick up a little bit of snow behind this, and you can see there's a nasty cold front that moves through, so a lot more cold air available in the long range, which could lead to maybe a snowstorm. We'll have to see. The models don't really show that, but well, you can see the GFS's latest model run does show some interesting activity here, so you never know. It's not too late for that. And speaking of the severe weather, I just wanted to show you, this is what it looks like for day 5. Again, it's still far out, so I'll keep you guys updated, but for now, that's that. I do want to take a glance at the total United States for you. Again, in the long range, things look very active. In a short range, things look very active, excluding maybe the West compared to what you guys have been seeing. Again, there's that giant scope of the United States for that first system, which you can see it's pretty large, though not really powerful up until it gets maybe way into the Northeast. It starts spinning away into stronger system. There's that second system. Again, you can see it's pretty intense across much of the Midwest there in Central United States, the southeastern Midwest, I would say, and in the South, in New England there. So again, that's the system I covered. But as I mentioned earlier, there will be a lot of cold air right behind this, and you can see there's a nasty cold front that moves through, bringing snow to a generous area of the United States, light to moderate snow. But with all that cold air available, any moisture that does get picked up could develop into a winter storm. And you can see that the models are potentially indicating that another activity or system here by midweek of the week after next week. So still, again, pretty far out, but it just goes to show you that plenty of plenty of activity. Maybe a more active western pattern towards the long range, which combined with some of this colder air that's stubborn, could create some larger kind of systems. We've seen some pretty good snowfall makers from systems like that, and you can see that we try developing some sort of weird funky storm here towards the south and east. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And early February still looks pretty chilly and pretty good for snow chances. All right, that's basically it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya.